Hi everyone, my name's Sean and welcome to How to Hero YouTube channel. I guess segment or show or whatever that I'm doing is called Words of a Wizard. In this one, I was working with Ka to come up with the tenets of service to others. I feel like there's more here. I don't think I got the full picture of it. I got glimpses, and then I try to model those into a bit of a framework to follow. So here are sort of the 5 tenets of service to others as outlined by the Galactic Confederation. And essentially what this is to try and I guess add a little bit more detail to what service to others truly means, and how to view service, and how to position yourself to be offering the most polarized service to others. What this does is it not only it's basically a purity of the service offering. When service is offered in certain ways, it's more polarizing than service offered in other ways. And so it's not that intrinsically varying services have different value. It's more that the intention of the individual offering the service is sort of what polarizes their soul and what polarizes them towards service to others. And so in this video, we're going to go through the tenets that have been outlined. And, always take what resonates and discard what doesn't. Follow your own guidance and do your own research, etc. But this is sort of what was outlined to me, and I'll basically go through the tenets. I might have some commentary on each one, and we'll go from there. Hopefully it's helpful, and hopefully it helps to shape a little bit of more of a comprehension or understanding around service to others from a 4th density or higher perspective, and how that looks. So the first thing is all action or learning serves the creator. So this is the first and arguably one of the more important parts. This is the idea that everything that is accomplished here is a service to the creator. Everything that is done, everything that's thought, everything that's learned, everything that's acted is a service to the creator. You're not able to serve anything but the creator in this experience, in any experience. Everything is the creator. And therefore, anything you do, whether you're, fixing your car, or you're helping your sister overcome some challenge, or, you're even in the moments where you've demonstrated some imbalance and have acted out and upset other people, you can consider that, for example, pain. We have to notice the value of pain and what pain does to serve us. And so, for example, if a child is burned by a burner, or, generally speaking, children learn about heat and what's hot through eating something too hot. Their parent will say, it's hot, wait a minute, and the child will eat anyways and burn their mouth, right? If they never had that experience of pain, they wouldn't understand that doing this thing is going to be uncomfortable. Right? Doing this thing is not the best for them, right? We need to learn those things. And so when we are offered pain by other people, we learn about ourselves. And so they're offering us a service in that way as well. So that's the main purpose of that example, is just to illustrate that even people that are wronging us or doing things in the world that we disagree with, they're offering us catalyst to better understand ourselves. It is a service. It's a service that can sometimes be hard to accept, hard to, resonate with. And that's the other thing about service, is it doesn't have to be accepted. It can be appreciated and sort of said, thank you, but no thank you, right? Like, I thank you for your offering of service, but no thank you. I'm not going to participate in this. So, we're always at our free will to discern for ourselves what service is. Or what service we're gonna take on and allow, but it helps us to understand that when we offer service to other people, they have that same free will. This is sort of the base paradox of service, and the unity perspective is what resolves the paradox of how do I, if I'm serving people in a bad way, right? Like, so if I'm doing something negative towards other people, malicious, I'm still serving them. It's important that we know that. We are still serving them when we do that. We are not serving the creator. We're never not serving the creator, and that's the primary thing to recognize. So we can recognize that the divinity inside is always serving itself, always serving all, and through mutual interaction and expansion. It's the intention of the service offerer that polarizes the service through service to others or service to self. And what we're trying to do, if we're trying to polarize towards service to others, is we're trying to notice our own intentions, our very honest and deepest intentions, because those are the intentions that will determine how polarized our service offering is. And the next point, and I would actually say this is probably the first, but I wanted to start with the whole idea that service itself is everything that exists. So you're always offering service. That's all you can ever do. It's just a matter of noticing, am I serving myself or am I serving others? And then trying to take the majority of your energy and putting that towards serving others. And it literally only has to be the majority. 51% of your energy going out, freely given to others, is enough to polarize you service to others to meet the graduation requirements to enter into fourth density. And you can enter into fourth density here now because the vibration of the planet's at that place. So you just have to orient your human self to be this way, and then when you pass, you'll ascend. So you can essentially sort of ascend now, more or less, and this is how you do it. And I'll continue on to the next one. The next one is that free will, the law of confusion, or the law of free will, is the cornerstone to all of experience here. So a service to others oriented being is always working to respect free will, the free will of the universe, the free will of the other entities that we're walking around with and doing things with. We can view the other entities as our other selves. Other people are our other selves. So how can we serve our other selves while recognizing that despite our offerings of service to the other selves, it may be rejected? We basically learn to offer what we feel called to offer, and it's up to their free will as to where they go with that. So, you could think of probably a friend that you've tried to give advice to on many occasions, let's say, where you can, you've probably traversed the lesson they're in, right? In your experience. And you're saying, I think I know a better way to go about this situation, but they haven't experienced all of that yet. So they may not be able to get there. They also may not be looking for that type of service. Maybe all they're looking for is compassion, someone to hold space. They're not looking for advice. So you can imagine that it can be a little frustrating trying to speak to this friend, and a little bit, demoralizing in some degree, where like I'm trying to help them and they're just not listening. And the way we get out of that and come into a peace is by understanding that, of course, they're not listening. If they're not listening to the advice, it just means that advice is ill-timed, right? That advice is not really what they're looking for. And so cognitive dissonance happens, and they blank on it. They don't really get it. And that's perfect. And we have to be able to see that as perfect. We have to be able to respect their free will and understand that whatever we're trying to do, they can reject it. And one of the major mistakes that, I shouldn't call it a mistake. There are no mistakes. But one of the major, fallacies around service is that it's up to us to correct others, to take our worldview and impose it. And we think and tell ourselves that we're doing them a service when we do that. But what we're actually kind of doing is just trying to correct and order the world and the universe and others the way that makes us feel more comfortable, right? So that's usually our deeper intention. And in order for us to step out of that and offer a more polarized service to others service, we have to recognize that whatever we're offering It's up to their free will to embrace it or not. And so this ties into the next part, which is the third tenet. Service is offered with no expectation of result. So the offering and the intention of the service is where we determine and discern for ourselves if it's virtuous or not. We offer our service, as I was saying before, in a way of just freely offering what we see as service. Whatever we see is the highest or best way for us to serve is offered. And so, you know, we can have somebody calling for our aid. And like I said, they could be seeking compassion or just space. Maybe they just want to vent. And we could return and say, you know, the best way that I can serve is not to get involved in that part. That is what they're asking for, but I actually think they need wisdom to balance some of their emotional turmoil that they're in. And if they have this wisdom, then they'd be able to notice some of these things and come out of their pain and their suffering. And especially if these areas are areas that we've already traversed within ourselves, we can sometimes see that pathway much more clearly than the other person. And so our inclination may be to hold space for them and just be compassionate, but our inclination may also be to offer our wisdom. Whatever we feel called to do, we have to understand that we offer what we offer and they do whatever they do with it. We can't take responsibility for it. We can't hold ourselves to delivering this service and then grade ourselves on the result of it. So we offer a service and they reject it. All we do is say, oh, interesting, what happened here? Was I misaligned, or are they perhaps just not ready, or was there a different way that I could approach this? That type of thing. We start to learn and balance and mold our offerings so that other people can be more receptive, that type of thing. And so the next is service is offered in humility. So humble service. It's just recognized that although I have a lot of beliefs, I have strong beliefs about certain things, I have ideas around how things should be, how things perhaps seem to be highest and best, and I could feel like it's my job to get things into order. Part of the importance of this part of it is understanding that although we feel that and we know we have these knowings, we have to step back and remember that we don't truly know anything. We don't know what's best for them. We don't know what their soul path is. We don't know what they're learning, what they're moving through. Collectively, we don't necessarily know what's left to be seen at the collective side. People have to play out some of their suffering in order for that catalyst to then help them transform themselves. It's sort of a requirement in many ways. And because we are not privy to the plan in this density, we're not privy really to what's going on beyond our own, experience. We have to just know that even though it seems like we should do something to correct this situation, we don't know, right? We don't know. We just have opinions or biases, conditioning, and thoughts around how things could be better. And we have to just always remember we could be wrong. We could be wrong. And what we think is better for the other person we're trying to serve may not be their path and trajectory right now. And maybe they'll get there, maybe they won't. Maybe the truth that we have and hold turns out to be the way, right? Maybe it does, but timing is of critical importance. And when I talk about timing, I'm talking about divine timing, understanding that the other person, other people, groups of people, whatever, are moving into their more evolved spaces at the correct time for them. And all we can really do is be our authentic selves and offer what we feel called to offer, while just respecting any who disagree, respecting that, yeah, I mean, this is what I think, that's what you think, whatever. It doesn't make much of a difference. Now, if they say and present information that makes you go, oh, maybe I've got these things a little mixed up, then that's great. Now you've learned more, right? So you want to investigate them from that place of humility, like, I don't know what's going on. And we can, as we seek and grow and expand and start to understand the universe a little bit better, we're only really getting glimpses. And we just want to remember that we don't really know anything. We're a lot like children running around here, doing our best. We're very endearing, very adorable. A lot of times we think we know so solidly what's going on. But our minds work very linearly, and we make a lot of presumptions about things, especially when it comes to things that make us feel comfortable. So the last is that all service offered is love. So the form of the love, the entire creation is created by love. That's the only love, light is the only real force that is within all things. It's the love and light of the divine feminine and divine masculine polarities that are harmonized together to form everything we experience, our internal energies, everything external, and it's love and it's light, right? And in this way, I can offer service. I can offer service as a compassionate ear for somebody to vent some of their frustrations, and for me to kind of feel into where they're at and be there with them in that. Or I can notice where this person is, kind of stuck in a cycle, and I can try to help them notice that in themselves through speaking truth and wisdom. But sometimes that truth and wisdom can come across as a little bit cold. Somebody said to me the other day, how would you feel if you were asking for a hug and somebody slapped you in the face with a cold, hard truth? And that's a good way to think about this. That's how it can feel when we do that. And so what we want to try to do, I think, as best we can, is hold the compassion while still holding the wisdom. As a spiritual teacher, a lot of what I seem to focus on is trying not to get too sucked in to the stories of the narratives of the pain. And in order for me to do that, I have to kind of sit in a bit of a higher perspective and observe really what's happening, and try to offer that higher perspective, or an avenue to that higher perspective, while also showing compassion and empathy. And that can be challenging to do. But my point, and the point of this tenet, is that the service that you choose to offer is offered in love. All service is love. Even the dark stuff that's happening, even the pain, that is still love. It's just a different flavor, is the way that I like to look at it. We have infinite flavors of love to taste. And we need to taste lots of it, right? We need to experience lots of it. That's why we cycle through incarnations, so that we can taste the whole, the whole buffet of the different flavors of love and service that exist. And really the ultimate thing, this is all leading towards what our real goal here is the choice. This density is not a density of understanding. This is the third density, the density of choice. This is where we're choosing, are we going to express and serve others in love, or are we going to express and serve ourselves in love? Now, both are love of self or love of other self. And love of self teaches others. So you can imagine if I'm very selfish, very, let's say, narcissistic, and very loving of myself, and everything that I do is garnered towards my comfort and my, ordering of the world, ordering of my reality, trying to get other people to bend to my will so that I feel good. This type of polarized service to self is a catalyst for all other people that are in my environment. They observe me doing this, and they may feel infringed on, they may feel pushed, they may feel pressured, they're going to feel, they may feel like I'm a bad person. So it's catalyst for separation, catalyst for fear, catalyst for pain, different things like that. And that is also a flavoring of love. And so it allows us to notice that even the people that are doing horrible things are providing a service. And it's really crucial that we can step back and realize that all of the offerings are services. And now it's just up to us. All we can do here is choose. How do we want to show up? How do we want to serve? And we have to really take stock of what our motivations are. So for example, for this YouTube channel, you know, somebody could observe it and think, oh, this guy just likes to talk about himself or talk about his ideas. You know, somebody could observe the channel and disregard everything that I say just based on this idea around what I'm trying to do. And it could seem narcissistic. And you know, there have been people that have approached me in my life that have suggested that I shouldn't do what I'm doing. And the quote, "Those who speak do not know, and those who know do not speak," comes to mind in this. Basically, that the urges to share our wisdoms is an egoic fascination with ourselves. And that could be possible, right? That could be possible. But so what I'm recommending is, for me, I teach this stuff and I channel beings and I do what I'm doing for no goal at all. I don't have a goal. And I talked about this recently in a stream with Tassel. But basically I'm expressing just to express and let people do whatever they want with it. There is no real goal here. And that's the higher polarized way to offer service. If my goal were to be, I'm trying to grow my business, or I'm trying to, you know, do something for my comfort, or I'm trying to like fulfill this need that I feel to be noticed, or some of those things, then you know, there's service to self mixed in with this opportunity of offering service. So I may have somewhat of a goal of sharing expressions in the hopes that some people could glean some insights from them. I know that any of the sharings are offering catalyst. I know it's all service, so that part of it is fine. That's why I said there's no goal. I know that some people will get stuff from it, other people won't, and that's perfect. But basically what I'm recommending is just taking a very hard, authentic look at yourself and looking at sort of where my motivations come from. Not the motivations I want to embody. Those ones are nice. We like to point at those and go, I'm a good person, I want to serve others, I want to do this. But underneath that, there's usually a layer of sort of selfish aims as well. We just want to know what those are. We want to make sure that even those selfish aims are aims that, you know, we can then alter our intentions a little bit to be like, well, you know, if I had a little bit more money, I might be able to reach more people, right? So if I serve myself to get some money, then I can serve others more later, right? And this is sort of the wisdom that starts to get applied to it. So, it becomes sort of a paradox of, okay, well, I'm serving myself to serve others. And so this is the most important part of unity consciousness, is that serving yourself serves all. Serving all serves yourself. There is no difference between these things. There is no difference at all. There's an equanimity of the service offering. And it really just comes down to what we feel called to do. And a lot of us, especially people that are listening to this channel, feel called to serve others. And what I want to make sure is very, very, very clear especially at this density of consciousness, is if we constantly serve others and do not turn towards ourselves and serve ourselves as well, sometimes we will end up having imbalances where there's stuff we need that we don't have, and it'll be uncomfortable in different ways. And so we can navigate those by basically doing what I said, where we say, you know, in order for me to serve others to a fuller capacity, I have to take care of my health, for example. I have to make sure I eat better. I have to make sure I exercise, whatever it is. These things are serving yourself, right? And we have to be able to understand there's nothing wrong with serving ourselves, and that serving ourselves is natural. It's part of our, part of our requirement really here is to serve ourselves to some degree. And even, people like Jesus who felt called to do their mission, that mission that was coming through them, they felt really tied to doing that. And if they weren't doing it, if Jesus was not fulfilling his mission, he would feel bad, right? This is because he's not serving his purpose, which would be serving himself. Now, his purpose was to serve others. So you can see how this constant back and forth of the polarity of serving others or serving the self is in duality. It's very apparent, like each action has a particular sort of intention to it, but there's also a grander intention to the service itself, and to making sort of proactive decisions in order to be of more effective service later, such as making sure we live longer so that we can serve others longer, right? The longer we're here, the more opportunity we have to serve. We could frame that in another way and say, I'm just really protective of myself, and it could become more of a negative, fear-based thing, right? So it literally is all about how we look at the offerings of service and our intentions. That's where the energy determines our polarity, and how we gain in service to others or positive polarity is through shifting our perspectives and shifting our lenses through how we view service itself, and coming into a more unified view of what service is, appreciating all the negative service that we have offered and greeting us. Appreciate that for what it is. If that didn't exist, we wouldn't have woken up at all. We would have just been already awokened, and it would have been a whole different ball game, and it would have been a very different world than what we are experiencing. But the goal is sort of to get to that where everyone remembers, right? Everyone remembers that we're not separate beings running around. We're all one being experiencing itself. And so I think that for me, my best offering of service is to speak of unity. That's where I come from, sixth density, and unity is just what pervades the experience. The separation from self to other self is very difficult to really notice, but there is still some identity. So, my biggest offering of service is to continue to talk about where these paradoxes exist and help use unity to dissolve those paradoxes for people. If they want to, and if they don't agree, then they don't agree, and that's all perfect. And for whatever reason, I've been contacted by these entities, and and now the Galactic Confederation is sort of coming through with some of this information, and all I can do is share it if it feels resonant, and all of this feels very pure. If people can take these stances and really look at themselves and really consider how they're offering service, how they're showing up, not just in that very moment, but also in the grander scheme of things, then they can make sure that their service is not only effective, but polarized and pure. And, you're serving just to serve. So you're not serving so you can feel better, right? You're serving so that others can benefit from it if they so choose. And that's sort of the entire goal of offering service to others. And the choice is the most critical component to that. Trying to force your service on another is a negative polarized concept. That would be the negative polarity calls itself to service because it needs to put the world into order. It wants to put the world, or everything that is in its experience, into order because it believes it knows best. So that is, whenever we're doing that, it doesn't mean we have to freak out on ourselves or get upset with ourselves, but we have to notice that, okay, I'm trying to order the world. If I'm trying to order the world, then I just have to consider, how am I doing that? Am I having to manipulate other people, or am I mostly just doing my own thing to change the world, my own inner world? You know, these things are just important considerations. Am I constantly trying to teach my friend about awakening, because they're sad and it's kind of uncomfortable when they're often sad? You know, am I just trying to, to basically bend them into a more comfortable version of them that I can sit with better? A lot of times that's really at the root of what we're doing. And I use that example because these are the things that come up for me. But you can look at your own life and whatever you want to offer as service. You could be a tarot reader. You could be doing anything. You could be a teacher, at schools, or whatever you're doing, a doctor. But it's all about your intentions for the service and helping to maintain free will, offer your service humbly, with the gratitude of just being grateful that you could offer it, being very grateful that this platform for me exists, that I can just speak and just do what I want, and that people can listen and do what they want. Like, just being grateful for all that, and then offering what feels aligned to offer, and that's about it. So if anybody has any questions about any of that, please let me know. Appreciate all your questions and comments. And if there's any areas of this that you'd like some expansion on, or like me to talk about further, I can do that. So just let me know in the comments, and I appreciate all your faces, and thank you so much for listening, and take care.